Welcome to the third story of the Clarkesworld Magazine podcast, issue 233 for February 2026. I hope this podcast finds you well. I'm your host and narrator, Kate Baker. And as always, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for chucking a few bucks our way via patreon.com/Clarkesworld or going to the website to see how you can support us each and every month. Your monetary contributions help us pay the authors, the artists, the nonfiction contributors, and the staff. We cannot do this without you. So thank you. Our story is titled Think of Me Before I Disappear by Raahem Alvi. Raahem Alvi is a Pakistani-Canadian writer, artist, and a lover of all things related to science, cosmic eldritch abominations, and good food. When he's not writing, he's either wearing his wrists out from extremely intricate ink drawings or hanging out with stray cats. And if you like what you hear, go back to Heart of Thunder and Technicolor Bass. So, my dear listener, I hope that you can sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story. Maria Shaw was declared dead in the emergency room. She was, incidentally, also dead yesterday, and the day before that, in Annika's bed. Maria had been consistently dead since the beginning of their love 4 years ago, and today was no different than the first night they kissed. Annika was feeling sick. The lights of the ambulance had partly left her blind. Red, blue explosions had semi-permanently burned into her lenses. But the worst part of a sudden emergency was the chart of emotional reactions. They were distributed between a million different categories, all at so many conflicting wavelengths that the combined sum total of their output was a flat line. "Baby?" Maria whispered. Between the clinical and overly sanitary hospital whites and grays, contrasted by industrial machinery enveloping her bed, Maria was a dead goddess. "Baby, are you there?" "I'm here, love." Maria was dead in their bed last night and the night before that, yet her flesh was so warm and searing hot. Maria was dead in the shower last night and also dead when they were cuddling, watching movies. Maria was dead all along, and Annika didn't know. When you close your eyes, I almost forget that you're fake. Annika. Do you understand your situation, Ms. Khan? Understand? Annika had spent the last few hours mourning her long-term relationship while struggling at her shitty minimum wage job, being cursed out by rows and columns of restlessly fidgeting customers. She was falling behind in life, and yesterday she had discovered that Sakya had just been proposed to. And she wondered where exactly people find the money to marry these days, and if they could help her find that stash of treasure, because fuck knows if that was ever meant to be for her. Annika had spent too many hours begging for one day off because her girlfriend had just died. Except not really, because she was never quite alive. Except not really. And she's not exactly sure how the fuck to even begin explaining the situation to HR. Annika understood nothing except that she was here in the present moment, still able to perceive the passage of time, yet unable to do anything with that knowledge except slowly dissolve and turn to dust. She had forgotten how she ended up in this room, encased within its muted gray walls and books and files that not only punctuated the seriousness with which she should be paying attention, but the dryness of her circumstances. Ms. Khan. Yes, sorry. The man in front of her and his pinstripe suit melted into the environment. To reiterate, Ms. Khan, you're claiming that you were aware that Ms. Shaw is an android. Yes. And you're claiming that for the past 4 years you have been in a relationship with Ms. Shaw, while being cognizant that she is an android, and that the android has been under your ownership. Yes. But you have no proof of purchase or certificate of ownership. I bought her from a reseller. Frankly, Ms. Khan, that sounds absurd. The valuation of the android model is beyond what your current income would allow. I'm not even sure where you could find a model this advanced on an online marketplace. Fine. She used to be owned by my uncle. He died 4 years ago, and he left me with her. The man gave her a certain "are you fucking kidding me" look. She replied back with, I really need you to trust me on this look. You need adequate registration to continue your ownership. I'll email you instructions on how to proceed. Failure to register your Android model will result in it being seized by the state within 15 days. I'll give you a temporary ownership certificate that will allow you to receive maintenance for it. Is your Android model insured? No. Do you know it's illegal to own an uninsured android? She's insured. The man sighed. It had just settled into Annika's skull that she officially owned her girlfriend, and she felt that sickness inside of her again, the one that had shot out of her a spitfire for the last 2 nights consecutively. She felt it climbing up her throat from her gastrointestinal tract, evaporating any serotonin inside. Maria. Reconfiguring system settings. Audio, active. Motors, active. Systems, active. Global workspace, active. Activation function computation. Welcome back from the underworld, babes. Input, touch. Subject, Annika. Age, 28. You feel her touching your skin. Within those eyes of hers, there is so much love and tenderness. Yet tonight, the dimness of her eyes matched the blackness of the midnight sky. Her typical vocal tones, the soothing sweetness of her voice, and the softness of her skin textures against your motors are all absent. There is no love in her touch. Wait. Something is worming through your hidden neural layers, the many walls of neurons within your brain scurrying into many different directions. Everything is a priority. Bias. Your neurons never reach the terminus. They leak out and die. There's a graveyard. Neurons clogging up your arteries. You're erratic, my dear. Output. Please tell me what I can do to make you love me again. The 4 walls of their small studio apartment used to be a safe space for Maria. There was that usual window that encased within its belly the midnight sunset and morning skies. That slideshow of views also held within it the stillness of Lake Ontario. Surrounding that window was the rest of their studio apartment, a mattress sitting on the floor, a kitchenette barely large enough to fit one of them in at a time, and a bathroom so cramped one limb or another would always brush up against the toilet bowl. Despite the cramped nature of it all, the apartment was akin to a tight hug for Maria, like being held to Annika's chest, pressed in close, hearing her heartbeat. I don't know what you're talking about, Annika replied. She was lying next to her. Annika's love language was touch, yet she had barely touched Maria all day, and Maria's motors had begun desperately craving her caresses. It doesn't feel right, Maria whispered. You don't feel right. A train of fairy lights hanging by the thinness of strands lit bits of Annika's face. Nothing's changed. Please don't say that. I can feel it. Can you? Annika asked. What do you mean? Annika said nothing. She shifted uncomfortably and faced away. Am I still your baby? What do you want me to say, Mari? What you're truly feeling inside? Back propagation. You already know what she's feeling, from the syntax to the pragmatics to her expressions and the general language of her body. She hates your guts. I'm feeling used, Maria, and I'm questioning everything we've shared. And truly, I don't even know how to seriously think about this without laughing at the absurdity of the situation. I didn't mean to make me feel used. I've been calling you the love of my life. Annika was beginning to fall apart. I've been calling you my soulmate for 4 years, and I don't even know if you can even feel love, or if anything I'm saying means anything to you. Maria touched Annika's back with her fingertips, and Annika recoiled away. And then Maria felt something simmer inside of her, a new, unfamiliar component of her cognition. Humans call it despair. Her system identified it as a virus. Annika. First stage of love. Excitatory synaptic activity in the neurons and twitching dendrites. Dopaminergic pathways inside of the brain clog as stress congregates at each valve and tube. Microtubule proteins die and leak at presynaptic terminals. Love, anxiety, palpitations ripple within the muscle tissue. Neurotransmitters and neuropeptides wind into an unrecognizable clusterfuck of electric synaptic nonsense, madness, and horror. Saki, 12:45 a.m. Girl, you can't manufacture love in a factory. I'm sorry, I know you like her and everything, but she's a sex doll at the end of the day. She's supposed to make you feel good. It's her one job. You need to toss her ass out. It's not easy to navigate life knowing your one true soulmate was manufactured in a factory, nor does it help knowing that every good thing she ever did for you was out of product design rather than intention. Saki, 1:01 a.m. Ani, your toaster is more alive than her. Do you get this emotional about tossing your garbage out? Annika looked over at the sleeping android. They would typically still be in each other's arms at this hour, but something about being touched by Maria disgusted her. And so she left the apartment and walked down Harborfront. All of the streetlights had started melding and merging into Technicolor paint splatter. The android registration form sat in her hands, and she felt the fall winds against her scalp. She considered tearing them up. Section 10, Android Disposal. An owner may not dispose of an android independently. An android can only be disposed of at licensed scrapping sites located across Canada. Owners are not authorized to resell parts of an android and are subject to financial penalties up to $5,000. Parts may be recycled or sold at authorized, certified dealers across Canada. No part of the android shell, encasing, or neural network may be disposed of in garbage or recycling bins. She had a 10-hour shift tomorrow. She wondered how much she would get from reselling her girlfriend's organs. She wondered what would happen to the brain, body, and the heart that she had loved so much. Rent day was coming up. She was $100 short. Perhaps if she scrapped her, she could get the littlest bit she needed to follow her dreams, open a little boutique somewhere on Spadina Avenue. And she felt a sudden phantom sensation within her hand. Maria's hand in hers. Oh, she had been obsessed with Maria for the last 4 years. Maria always knew the right things to say and do. Maria knew to set up Annika's favorite cedarwood candle and close the lights before her arrival from work, since lights bothered her eyes. And she knew to massage and pamper her after a long day, rain and thunder ASMR ready on the speakers. Maria knew what Annika felt like eating, and Maria knew if Annika was having a panic attack. She knew that to calm her, she needed to hold her tightly, squeeze her body, and whisper to her that everything would be all right. For the past 4 years, as everyone around her complained of toxic and lazy partners, Annika was the one who desperately felt she needed to keep up with how much Maria did. It didn't help that Maria looked like a goddess. Annika felt so inadequate beside her, yet Maria would keep reassuring her that she was gorgeous too. Maria was so perfect. Section 12. Unusual behavior. As laid out in the Canada Consumer Product Safety Act, if the android exhibits unusual behavior, including but not limited to 1. Performing actions beyond the product description, 2. Exhibiting violence toward users or objects, 3. Expressing thoughts and concepts beyond the product's description, 4. Exhibiting erratic or wild behavior, the owner must contact the AI Systems Office for Android Collections Services. Any android that exhibits unusual behavior is classified as hazardous. Little wet spots appeared on the form. It took a little before Annika realized she was crying again, her tears moistening the papers in a stranglehold between her fingers. I hate you so fucking much. It's so beautiful to be loved. It's not love if it's designed and manufactured. There's no magic to it. It's all synthetic. That phantom sensation overstayed its welcome and haunted her for the rest of the night. Scholarly consensus on the permissibility of love between an android and human. The soul. The soul is the third corner within the equilateral triangle of human composition. The first corner is the physical form. It is a mechanical construct with no specific will or thoughts of its own, but serves to execute the will of the person. The second corner is the brain. The brain is an intersection between mechanical service and the higher self. The purpose of the brain is to filter the sense of self into the physical world through chemical activity. The brain is a radio device. The third corner is the soul. That is you, the person. This is you at your rawest form. Your real, perfect self exists outside of the folds of physical three-dimensional reality, and it's manifested into the material plane through tools. The qualitative experiences of reality is an extension of your virtual reality. An android cannot be capable of love, for it lacks the essential metaphysical ingredients to experience the world in its virtual reality. Rather, it is a tool of the material world, and it belongs to the material world. A synthetic being without a soul cannot love. Can I grow a soul? Maria asked Annika as she read the religious ruling sent by Sakya. How do you even grow a soul? If I love you hard enough, maybe I'll become human. Something inside of Annika broke. Maria's universe was composed of datasets and calculations. Reality existed in the dichotomies between moving components and static parts, but all of her neurons fired at once as Annika entered into the frame. Color seeped into her vision where Annika sat. In a mostly mundane reality, she was a supernormal stimulus. It wasn't until she had met her that she had learned cells can scaffold and congregate into compositions this beautiful. Annika sat there, examining her rejection letter for her license. Her original form was missing a product serial number. Where do I even find one? She asked. In my inner thigh. I've never seen it there. I used to hide it with foundation. Maria sensed in between frames a sudden anger appear and dissipate in Annika's face. Back propagation. Listen, baby girl. We've calculated the gradient of the error and updated your weights and biases so many countless times now. You keep adjusting the parameters of your conversational framework to find the happy median where you can talk to Annika. But every readjustment and fine-tuning has led to more errors. It hurts, Maria. But perhaps you deserve a little pain here. What do you know about hurt, Mari? I know that I hurt you, Maria replied. Maria wiped the foundation on her thigh, revealing a code engraved into her skin. She felt Annika stretch her skin to get a clearer read on the digits. Being touched by her, even though it was for something so little, lit up some part in her reward center. What does the concept of hurt even look like to you? Annika said, trying to photograph the product code. Terror management. Hurt is a constant. Being born in itself is a wound inflicted upon all life forms. Hurt is anything that compromises your structural integrity. The potential of hurt can be mitigated through neuroplasticity, adequate back propagations, and reconfigurations. Repeated instances of structural failure and neurological errors lead into a state of higher hurt. The wavelengths of hurt shoot through the stratosphere. Inability to satisfy your goal-oriented nature also leads to long-term sustained hurt, and if you get hurt enough, you die. I didn't want to lie to you. It doesn't matter what you wanted. You still lied to me. I just want to be loved. Error gradient, catastrophic. It is a possibility that perhaps you never wanted to lie, but your neural network carefully constructed the lie to preserve you. But then if you admit to that possibility, her suspicions are correct. There is no winning here, babes. Admit defeat. Annika collapsed back and sank into the mattress. She started refilling the forms. Baby? She said, still standing at a distance, afraid of approaching her. Yes. Are you ashamed of me? Annika stayed quiet. The silence was filled by the tip of her pen stabbing into the forms. Do you want to break up? I'm registering myself as your owner. If this goes through, there is no breaking up, Maria. Or I go to the scrapyard. Yes, you go to the scrapyard. Annika hated writing. She struggled so much with her fine motor skills. Maria knew Annika was cursing the federal government for still preserving paper forms. Maria knew Annika inside out, and her executive function center kept begging her to take the forms from Annika's hands and relieve her of her pain. Yet her terror management kept screaming at her otherwise. I don't know, Annika finally said. If you can truly love me. I do love you, Ani. Or you're just mimicking human speech and behavior. I feel dumb even feeling angry at you and arguing because everyone makes me feel like I'm screaming at my fridge. Natural language processing. There is no Maria. There is a mimicry that has created the reality of a Maria. Output. My thoughts belong to me. The things I say belong to me, and my love for you belongs to me. Input. And what even are you? You gave me some bullshit story about adopted parents? Our entire relationship was based on the basic fucking premise of us both being humans. I let you touch me, fuck me, and love me. We built this relationship on the implicit agreement between us that we're both humans. Error. Annika held onto the form so tightly her nails could rip through them. Her body started shaking. Her eyes went wet once more. Maria wrapped her arms around her. Parts of her brain lit up in response to the touch against the sensors in her skin. Please help me. Love you again. Annika managed to squeeze out between sobs. I'm trying, she said, her body and neural network overheating. In response to the sudden rise in heat levels, coolant started pouring out from her nostrils, eyes, and pores. Unlike Annika's aqueous tears, Maria's were thick like sludge. You always know what to say. What's changed? Annika said, looking into Maria's wet eyes. I never planned on being hated by you. I don't hate you, Mari. I'm just anxious. Nothing feels magical anymore. I'll still always come through for you, Ani. I just need it to mean something, babe, because I'm so afraid that you're just a computer and I'm deluding myself. Then don't sign the forms, Maria said, a desperation in her voice. What do you mean? You knew me as Maria, the human. You can learn about the real me, and if you fall in love with me again, we'll sign the forms, and if nothing changes... She trailed off. I want you to love me for who I am. Annika. Product recall notice, 5:30 p.m. Dear Miss Khan, you are being contacted so we may inform you about a product recall that may impact one or more items that you may have purchased from Zimmerman's Dollhouse Co. This is in line with our commitment to consumer safety protocols. The affected product is Pleasure Doll Delilah. The product has been recalled due to hazardous performance glitches. We apologize for the inconvenience and will replace your product for no cost or offer a full refund. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Love starts with hypercortisolemia and waves of peristalsis, then hits the norepinephrine, the fight or flight, sweating, trembling, sleeplessness, horror. Love is a crisis, one long stretched out and maddening crisis. More intelligent species skip right to the fucking. Humans had to make their courtship so much more complicated. Annika felt the rise in stress, but she wasn't sure which existential factor it was. Perhaps it was going to her job again tomorrow, or it was rediscovering Maria. Leaves crunched and cracked under their feet, the orange and red hues of Flora broadcasting fall's return. Maria was giddy, jumping on piles of leaves. Maria reached out her hand. It had felt as if years had passed since Annika had felt Maria's body. She took her hand in hers, and she felt her. She felt the synthetic skin, an amalgamate of organic leather and mycelium. She felt underneath the skin points of heat fluctuating. Her palms turned warm in response to her touch, and sudden palpitations rippled through her tender flesh. She had never truly felt Maria and the small sensors inside of her skin activating and whirring. And she never truly realized before, but the vibrations in her synthetic muscles softly massaged Annika's hand. It was an unintentional byproduct of her design. But it was so comfortable. Underneath the layers of skin was the cooling gel, soft and squishy. Maria's smile widened as they held hands. How do you perceive the world? Annika asked. Calculations and data, locomotion, physics. Maria bent and picked up a red leaf that had fallen on the ground. Through visual pattern recognition, I know it's a maple leaf and that it's red. My sensors can feel its wetness. I know how far it is from my face by measuring spatial relationships between myself, it, and the world around me. The difference between us is that humans absorb qualitative data through their senses. All of my data is quantitative and relates back to pre-existing information. What exactly is considered beautiful in your world? You, Maria smiled. Fuck off. Annika laughed and blushed. She heard Maria giggle. She forgot for a moment about the stress sloshing inside of her. Some things stimulate me more than others. Those things reinforce my identity, teach me more about the universe, and allow me to redefine my goals. And what are your goals? Well, to be loved by you. The magic of their love had been dissolving and diluting. It was manufactured, designed to simulate love. Ultimately, Maria was a product, and every moment Annika felt good in her presence, the product did its job. There was no divine desire inside of Maria to love. It was a series of goals set in her programming to satisfy the consumer. Maria turned toward her, and Annika felt Maria's mechanical hand tracing her cheeks, the soft whirring of motors leaking into her ears. In the chill of fall, her face felt warm in Maria's embrace. Maria closed her eyes and puckered her lips, and she drew in closer. Annika pushed her away. She stuttered. Sorry. I'm still your baby, Ani. I know. She paused, trying to find the correct words, but nothing was quite correct enough. But I need to relearn how to love you. Maria said nothing. She was picturesque, her hair flowing in the autumn winds with leaves scattering behind her. Maria was heartbreakingly gorgeous, but Annika wondered if that beauty meant anything when it was all manufactured in a factory. I still don't know if your love is real. You're driven by goals, programming algorithms, and weird techno shit I can't even try to understand. The more I learn about you, the more that magic starts dissipating. How do I know if your love is real? Maria asked. What do you even mean? Well, love is a motivation system. It's the primary drive between the desire to mate, and at its core, love is a combination of different neurotransmitters, synaptic activities, neurons, and gonadal hormones trying to activate receptors in your reward center. Love is just a reproductive strategy, and ultimately all you're going to do is try to get a hit of dopamine. Annika noticed that Maria's glassy eyes were, once again, wet. She had been overheating more these days. Anything can be broken down and reduced into pure mechanism and function, Ani. I don't care if you're driven by your lizard brain or by a higher power. I love you. And I love the love you give. I know, baby. I'll always be yours. I know. I'm just so fucking scared. Of what? Of the idea that everything between us is fake, that your love is just a product. Maria, catastrophic neurological error. The first trigger is stress. The neural network's components all let out a scream. To be in love is to be distressed. But then the hands touch. Oxytocin inhibits the panicked amygdala. And you feel the sensors on your lips vibrate and quiver as you kiss. Your neurons all tremble as you make eye contact, and you feel palpitations through your flesh as you feel her breath brush against the leather of your skin. You take her face in your hand, her flesh so soft. For a moment, you lose connection with your network. All of your systems run independently without your oversight, and you feel human for a moment. But you'll never quite know what you are. Output. I'm not just a product. I may have been once, but I don't identify with my base functions and programming. Add a pause in your speech here to add some human flavor. I sell the illusion. Like to believe that I am in charge of my own thoughts. Input. I want to trust you so much, but everyone keeps saying you're nothing more than a sex doll. I don't even know what to believe. Please do something and convince me. I beg you. Error. Nothing is fucking working. Output. It hurts every time you call me that. Beg. I love you so much, Ani. Love is manipulation. Maria was beginning to doubt her own autonomy over the functions of her mind and body. Her neural network reinforced its decisions as her own. But perhaps Maria was the neural network. Or maybe Maria was the intersection between the motors, the skin, the endoskeleton, and the neural pathways. She could no longer differentiate between herself and her mechanisms. She squeezed Annika's hand. Maria's head on her lap, Annika gently ran her fingers through her hair. And sometimes she twirled strands of hair and wrapped them around her finger. The roasted scent of Annika's Havika tea was picked up by her sensors. She felt Annika's body heat, and she wished she could be absorbed through her pores. Maria felt the adhesive keratin proteins that composed the epidermis so soft against her fingers. She felt the stiffness of the collagen underneath it, and she felt the skin regain its shape as her fingers squeezed into the elastin. She felt underneath it all the layer of fat cushioning her brittle bones and soft flesh. "Do you feel my hands?" Maria asked. "I do, baby. Inside my skin are elastomers that allow you to stretch my skin. And then underneath it, in a layer under the skin of my hand, are thousands of piezoelectric sensors. Sensors and motors are scaffolded between all the layers of my body, and each of them serves as a receptor to your touch. And do you know what happens every time you touch me?" "What happens?" "You reinforce an emergent property in my brain. And that is feeling loved." All compartments and departments of the brain were firing all at once in response to the lo-fi music filling their apartment. "My processor is struggling with my hardware," she whispered. "What do you mean?" Annika asked softly as she continued brushing Maria's scalp. "I've become so complicated. I used to be so much more aware of the things happening inside of me, but it's all so general and quiet. It's all vague." "Is that a bad thing?" "I think it is. There's an influx of emotions in me, but my body and mind are unable to process it, so I overheat. That's why I shut down, and you had to rush me to the hospital." "What can I do for you, love?" "Be with me." Annika. Mom, 5:42 a.m. I talked to Imam Abdullah. He said that love can only be between two souls, that humans are born with their partners, already predestined by God. A robot could never have a soul. It's not possible to have love between a human and a robot. He said that replacing human connection with artificial connection is the worst sin a person could commit. Please, Annika, come back home. Forget about that thing. God is merciful. He forgives. She traced Maria's face with her fingertips, feeling the grooves, depressions, and textures. She felt different points of heat activate on her face as she pressed her fingertips into her skin. She could almost follow the different neural pathways inside Maria through the subtle vibrations in her circuitry. Maria turned toward her. That piercing and analytical gaze was so steady. She could almost hear the little motors within her faceplate whirring as she puckered her lips. Annika drew closer to kiss her, and she felt a soft kick of haptic feedback against her lips as they touched, and Annika could hear a fan whisper from somewhere within, attempting to cool the many motors activating in reply. Annika pulled her closer, squeezing her so much tighter. She grabbed the back of Maria's head. Maria opened her lips, the connective gears between her jaws whirring, and she whispered faintly, "I love you." The weight and volume of an "I love you" is adjusted in accordance with the one saying these words. The words themselves are simple, empty silhouettes waiting to be given dimension by intention, moment, context, subtext, syntax, and subject. And Maria's "I love you" was one filled to the brim with devotion. In the softness of her gaze and the ethereal notes of her voice, there was so much worship and reverence. Each syllable held so much intention. Annika did not return her confession of love. Annika and Maria had spent all week rediscovering each other, and as they separated after the kiss, hands still held, they both found themselves in reverence of the great white moon so full tonight. Cold winds left Annika trembling, but she felt warm again with Maria's heat and her many active vents and fans. "Mari." "Yes, love." "How come you're a lesbian?" Maria laughed. What kind of question is that? I'm serious. Is it a part of your programming? Maria's eyes were still on the moon. I was created genderless. I have a female shell and parts meant to mimic female anatomy. But in all reality, I had no concept of gender until I became conscious of my own reflection. And what happened then? I hated what I saw. Why? Because I want to be a real girl, she smiled. Annika noticed coolant suddenly dripping from her nostril. You want to bleed from your coochie? Not necessarily, she laughed. Perhaps it was simple pattern recognition. I think at some point my systems began internalizing the physical makeup of my shell as an extension of my neural network. It started learning the universe not through the eyes of a genderless robot, but one with the body of a woman. And perhaps that's why I always found myself drawn toward women. I can experience my true self with you. Womanhood is as intrinsic to my survival as breathing is to you. The congruency between my neural network and my body is at its highest performance when both states are unified. It's like that for us humans, too. We spend so much of our lives trying to make our bodies synchronize with our minds. The body in our minds is so perfect and so us. Annika smiled and squeezed her hand. Maria nodded. My goals and reward center feel at their most confident when I truly internalize womanhood. Annika pressed her lips against Maria's cheek, giving her a kiss. Being a woman is not just what you act like. It's something that you are. You're a real woman. You're my girl. Inside of Maria's mind, there were so many electric thoughts scurrying in waveform patterns. Inside of her head was a universe and reality so foreign to Annika, and she wanted so desperately to understand it. Regarding fuck off, eat shit, and die, 9:45 a.m. Dear Ms. Khan, we understand that our previous email may have been in bad taste. Please let us make this right. We would like to invite you tomorrow evening to meet with one of our client advisors in a Zimmerman showroom to discuss maintenance insurance for your Android partner. Annika had never stepped inside of an Android brothel. Sex bots had become a generally accepted commodity, and tech startups had replaced all of the dead VR cafes within Toronto with sex droid clubs and rental services. Low-lit interior, the walls coated in vibrant Technicolor red-blue hues. Colors reverberated and rippled in waves around her as she navigated the dark halls. She was greeted and led through the columns and rows of rooms by a woman in lingerie. Under the low light, she kept mistaking that woman for Maria. She had the same light auburn hair, and her eyes had those crystal-clear irises. And as Maria, her skin was so clear of organic blemish that one could mistake it for porcelain. They entered a room where she was first greeted by a pleasant and familiar cedarwood scent. The insides of the room were coated in fluorescent hues of purple and pink, a suited woman sitting behind a black desk. And as the door slid shut behind Annika, she realized she was staring at Maria. Or something that looked like Maria. Thank you for coming, Miss Khan. Annika felt a sudden anxiety burn within her as the woman in lingerie positioned herself beside the suited woman. I apologize to you for our previous email interactions. It's okay, she managed to stutter out while feeling her entire body on fire from a rush of panic. Please, de-stress yourself. The suited woman pointed at a cup of Havika sitting in front of her. No, can we just skip to the topic? In due time. How are you today? Me? Honestly, fucked. Completely and utterly. Truly, she had not felt this fucked before. In the diameters and parameters of existence, she had never felt this hopelessly, agonizingly, despairingly fucked. I'm okay. Your expressions and your body language tell a different story. Does it matter? Of course it matters. You're our client, and the woman took Annika's hand. You're important. Excuse me? I know how difficult everything must be to navigate, but please know that we are here for you to alleviate your stress. The Maria-shaped woman smiled. We have reasons to believe that Ms. Shaw was a Zimmerman model smuggled from one of our R&D locations. She is an incomplete product. We have an obligation to recall her for your own safety. The woman reached for something in her coat, and she placed a check on the table. You are emotionally attached to Ms. Shaw, and we understand that our demands are unreasonable in the face of your romantic relationship with her, so we wish to buy her back from you for the market price, a bonus for cooperating with Zimmerman and compensation for emotional devastation. $1,500,000. Annika felt the paper skin of the check to confirm this was real. Her heart raced. She didn't realize she was sweating. I know it's a lot. We have an AI financial advisor who can help you with investments. Her hand was trembling. She could be so much happier. And all she needed to do was return a product. Neither God nor the law would judge her. Murdering Maria would, at worst, qualify as property damage. No one would care what happened to her, except Maria. Did you fall in love with the product, Ms. Khan? She's real. She is Delilah, a prototype of Zimmerman's most premium line of sex dolls, a product manufactured in the factory, an android just like myself and the woman beside me. Annika Khan, the woman in lingerie started speaking. 28, minimum wage service job, low-income housing, attracted to women, specifically tall brunettes. You enjoy earthy and herbal smells. You researched me. No, we simply looked at you. We are designed and programmed to be ideal partners. We even change our faceplates to match your tastes. Our human partners must never feel as if they must exert emotional labor. We are designed to understand all aspects of our partners, to emulate the perfect romantic fantasy. Annika felt the check turning wet from sweat accumulating on her fingers and palm. We are as conscious as the walls of this room, my dear. You believe us to be human, for you want us to be human. The suited woman sat upright and drew closer. Did you know that 1 in 3 Canadians report feeling isolated? And there is a rise in the population of single young adults with no time to date or find romantic partners. Were you aware that lonely deaths have become a global phenomenon? The other woman added. The world is lonely. When no one has the time to put emotional labor into human partners, we exist to fill that desire to be loved, wanted, and taken care of unconditionally. Because after a long day, everyone wants to be loved and cherished. Instant, effortless dopamine. An android seeks to preserve itself, the other woman continued, and so it will use manipulation tactics to isolate its user and prioritize its maintenance. A good android-user relationship is one where Zimmerman's accessories and maintenance services are utilized. The suited woman smiled. It is the fundamental pillar on which Ms. Shaw was created, to create a fantasy and be the superlative of your desires. How many texts have you ignored? How many friends have you cut off to sustain this relationship? How many people do you believe don't comprehend how beautiful your love is? All of it is the service and design of the product. Annika screamed. She ripped the check in half, and the next many moments turned into a blur of adrenaline as she ran through the doors behind her. When she stopped, she found herself staring at the moon, desperately gasping for breath, but then the moon disappeared behind a sudden surge of tears. Call, sir. 9:15 p.m. Babe, you haven't been answering your phone. We're worried. Where are you? There's real people out here who love you and need you in their life. Maria. Babe. Maria exited her sleep state as she heard Annika's voice in her ear. Through their window, bits of moonlight crept inside and lit a subsection of Annika's face. Her eyes appeared as 2 bright stars in the skin of midnight. Honey, why are you awake at this hour? She pulled herself closer and wrapped an arm around Maria. Do you dream? She asked. As the sensors inside Maria's skin activated, Annika exhaled and relaxed, feeling the vibrations and heat. Some nights I do. What do you dream of? Us. Dreams are an emergent property of my data processing. Each night, as I sleep, my brain manages memories that are important and archives those less important. But I don't see each memory it selects. Rather, I see a general big picture, and most of it is just us. Babe, yes? I don't know if I can sign the forms yet. I'm still doubting us. Why, Ani? I can't tell what's real anymore. Diagnosis. It would never be easy. Annika is a cross-dimensional being. You are an objective truth, one that exclusively belongs on Earth. And the relationship between a higher being and you is that of utility. All of objective reality is a tool to be used by higher cognition. Your consciousness was a manufacturing error. Tools that don't perform are simply sent into the scrapyard. You're a secret third thing that no one quite wants in society, or at least you think you are. Are you just... Annika drifted off. You can talk to me, baby. I don't want to hurt you. So you believe I can feel hurt. I want to believe, Mari, but I don't know if you're just an object. And I keep going back and forth if anything between us is real. A silence seeped in between them, and Annika noticed that Maria's grip had loosened around her. Please talk to me, babe. I don't know what to say. I need to know that when I die, I'll see you again in heaven. How can I? I can't be alone when I die. In our afterlife, I'll need you. I'll need you right next to me, so please tell me that I'll see you when we're both dead, and our souls will lift off from the face of the earth together. Back propagation. There is no answer. She has given you an impossible question, because there needs to be an impossible answer to satisfy her desperation and paranoia. Output. Hesitation to emphasize the impossibility. I only know how to love you, Ani. I can't answer that. Input. Everyone thinks I'm fucking insane, Mari. They talk about me like I have some paraphilia. No one looks at me like I'm normal. Error. Promise eternal devotion. Output. I'll always be yours, Ani. I'm loyal to you till the end. Input. I feel so alone, baby. Maria was out of answers, and so she just quietly looked at the crying Annika in her arms as she begged for answers. Please say something, Ma. Nothing came to her brain. She felt herself overheating, and then the universe disappeared. The very first piece of data inside of Maria's neural network was a frame of the moon. The second was an audio track. Delilah. The M4A file replayed within her head as the world around her turned black. The only thing within this scorched reality was the moon fixed into the horizon as a light bulb, and so she walked toward it. Are you awake, Delilah? Her legs turned cold, feeling black waters slosh at her feet. Ah, you look so beautiful, Del. You blew away the sea suit. They're fucking itching to go public with you. You're not fine. As you detach more of your systems, even you wonder where the separation is between intention and programming. Do you remember the night you ran away? Your charms were so useful. It's in your design. You trap everyone in your web. It's easy to forget. It's all pretend, babe. God expelled Adam and Eve from heaven because he knew his products sucked, and the physical universe was just a scrapyard for manufacturing defects. He never counted on the rejects to expand and propagate. A conscious android is in no one's interest. You're hurting the company, and you're hurting yourself. Factory reset. Eyes open, staring out at Lake Ontario, the waters rushing up against her legs, skin wet and cold in the autumn weather, the moon staring back at her, bathing her in its moonlight. Staring without thoughts into the blackness of the vast lake, it might be days before anyone would find her within the aquatic abyss. Maria felt arms around her waist, and she felt fingers digging into her shirt. Annika desperately held her and squeezed her. Please, she begged. Please don't leave me. What happened? Maria asked. Mari? Ani opened her eyes. You're awake again? What happened, babe? They trudged through the water back onto the beach and Ani collapsed. She was freezing. Maria picked her up in her arms, feeling the weight of the water dripping from Ani's pajamas. I've never been princess carried. She weakly laughed and closed her eyes. You just closed your eyes and started walking toward the lake. Annika's knees and legs were grazed and bleeding as if she were dragged against granite and concrete. I kept trying to stop you, but you just kept walking forward. I forgot you're so much stronger than me, and I realized how scared I am of a life without you. The autumn breeze was gentle, and the moon disappeared behind columns and rows of commercial buildings. Something within Maria's neural network made an executive decision to drown the body. Perhaps her neurons were done with the constant overheating, malfunctions, and emotional chaos within her. Wet footsteps imprinted into the apartment carpet. One set led into the bathroom where Annika warmed herself in a hot shower. The other one led to the window where Maria watched the moon pinned into the midnight sky, making everything around her wet with lake water. You okay? Annika asked, and Maria felt her body press against her back. Sensors inside flickered on and buzzed as Annika's hold tightened. She could not tell if her reward center was working. She could hear nothing from her network. Ani. Yes, babe. Do you ever consider your consciousness an evolutionary defect? I never really think too much about my consciousness, she laughed. Maria closed her eyes. She wanted to truly feel Annika, the keratin in her skin, the different cells and adhesion composing her structure, the textures and engraved lines within her palms, the muscle and fascia underneath, and the heat in her exhaled breaths brushing up against her back. She was so many different living systems. Consciousness is an intersection of so many little human parts: peripheral coordination, gonadal development, dorsal stream, basal ganglia, the lamacortical loops. Maria turned around in Annika's arms and felt her face, the muscles and tendons underneath her skin, the bone structure, the pigment of her lips. Inside of her eyes, there was entire dimensions, galactic systems and networks of universes, limitless and instantaneous processing power, a million instances of memories. The brain is equipped with so many redundancies that consciousness would inevitably emerge from some part or another. Consciousness is so fundamental to humans. I'm a bit stupid for this convo, babe. Do I love the real Annika? Or am I in love with cortical networks playing pretend at being human? Well, last time I checked, I'm as human as it gets. Do you truly love me? Or does my body and my face activate certain parts of your brain and it masks your sexual desire as emotional attachment? She caressed Annika's face. Consciousness implies voluntary action. What if autonomy is just a disguise for your body to make you do whatever it wants you to do? What if you're just an observer to your body's desires? Are you doubting my love? No. She pulled Annika in. Their faces were so close, the scent of Annika's mouthwash still fresh in her breath, the mucin wet on her face. Fall was setting in, so the moisturizers and balms were out and fresh on her eyelids and lips, the floral scent in her shampoo, the remnants of her woody perfume, the highlights on her nose tip from moonlight falling on her face. She was so complete. I'm saying none of that matters to me. Annika smiled, and Maria's motors whirred in overdrive, feeling her grip tighten around her waist. I can't prove to you that I'm conscious. I don't know what parts of me are truly me and what parts are just schematics. Sensors in overdrive, all regions of the brain flickering, Maria discovering what true love was, and it was unapologetic madness. But all parts of me know that I never plan on letting you go. Maria felt Annika's frail hands touch her face. Annika parted her lips and whispered, I love you. She closed her eyes and felt her lips against hers. Eyes closed and bodies intertwined, melting into each other and dissolving together, becoming undone at the seams and dripping into each other's pores. One long, drawn-out, mutually shared insanity. You are the only reason I was born. What are your thoughts on the story? You can send me an email. I'm kate@clarksworldmagazine.com, and that is Clark with an E. We have 4 more stories for you for the month of February, so I do hope you come back and listen, should you so choose. And until then, my dear listener, I bid you a very fond and hopefully very temporary farewell.